This month, at least a dozen religious leaders gathered at the First Methodist Church in Mission Valley.
California is going to be a beacon on the hill.
The star of the gathering was Sister Helen Prejean, the Louisiana nun and death penalty opponent who wrote Dead Man Walking.
A lot of times we ask the question, who deserves to die? Well, we got to ask the flip question, who deserves to kill them? Do you? Do I? Do we as a society? No, it diminishes life.
The group was religiously diverse, but on the question of the death penalty, they all urged a vote for Prop 34 to repeal the death penalty in California.
Islam is pro-life. Islam is for promoting lives and making the society, the community safer.
I think there are many punishments that can go along with redemption and rehabilitation that do not extinguish the hope that every human being deserves.
The punishment that would replace the death penalty under Prop 34 would be life in prison without the possibility of parole. Among the people who see that as a better way include Ronnie Carmona. In 2008, her son Arthur was killed by a man who ran over him with his car. But Carmona said she never wanted to see the offender put to death. She says the obligation is paid through years in prison.
I felt the person should spend the rest of their life in prison. For me, that's justice. And I know a lot of people talk about, well, the death penalty is closure. There's never any closure when you lose a loved one that way.
Prop 34 is backed by diverse groups of people that include religious leaders and former law enforcement officials. They argue that no justice system is good enough to guarantee that no innocent person would ever be executed. The state legislative analyst says repealing the death penalty would save California up to $100 million every year, mostly in court costs. One reason many victims' families see no closure in the death penalty lies in its history. Since California reinstated the death penalty in 1978, the state has condemned nearly 900 people to death. It has executed only 13. This subject came up at a legislative hearing on Prop 34. There, former L.A. District Attorney Gil Garcetti said the state's inability or unwillingness to actually execute people was good reason to abolish capital punishment.
The system is broken, it's dysfunctional, and underline this, it cannot be fixed.
But not everyone accepts the argument that the death penalty should be abolished simply because the state has failed to make it work, bogging it down, they argue, with cost, red tape, and appeals. Kermit Alexander's mother and younger sister were both murdered, and he wants the death penalty fixed.
What we need to do is figure out, we have the brains and we have the money, we need to figure out the most expeditious way to get it done and get it done.
Daniel Lamborn agrees. He's chief deputy district attorney for San Diego County. In the 1990s, he prosecuted Cleophas Prince, who was found guilty of sexually assaulting and murdering 6 women. Prince was sentenced to death in 1993, but today, 19 years later, he's still alive in San Quentin. When asked why he still supports the death penalty, Lamborn tells us to imagine someone who commits one rape and murder.
Well, here's somebody else who does that not once, not twice, but 6 times, where he terrorizes and essentially tortures and kills and sexually assaults women. Are 5 of those murders free ones, where he doesn't do one more day in custody, no more punishment for 5 of those 6 women that were killed? He would have gotten life in prison for the one. And so we tell him, send the message out to the community, hey, once you do one murder, you might as well do a dozen, because there won't be one more day in custody for that.
California death row inmates are much more likely to die of natural causes than execution. They typically stay on death row for more than 20 years. Lamborn says given the political will, California can speed up the appeals process. But in the end, the issue for both sides isn't about cost or delays. It's about doing what's right.
When we have the DNA, when we have soil samples, fiber samples, every aspect of science coming in and saying, this guy did it. And when we have a monster, why not do justice? Why not do justice?
We look at the death of an innocent Jesus on a Roman cross, and we learn 2 things. 1, human beings are incapable of discerning ultimate innocence or guilt. And 2, even in the face of guilt, God calls us to grace. Thank you.